the topic for today is going to be forgiveness. An act of forgiveness, how to forgive, how to understand forgiveness, how to have it impact your life in a very positive way. The act of forgiveness is also going to come with some type of hidden judgment, something hidden on the scene. What's hidden on the scene is quite interesting, which in fact is the hardest and complicated thing in life to kind of figure out. But when it comes to forgiving, to understanding what forgiveness does, first it releases, whatever stress and emotional problems that you can have with yourself, because yourself could be holding yourself hostage towards a situation, which is going to be very effective in your life. People's lives are affected in many ways because of the behaviors and problems that come with those behaviors, which causes more emotional damage to the next person, as the person that's causing the damage is really not giving a care about anything. But forgiveness in many ways requires an act of understanding your own flaws. Like, to understand our own flaws as a person is to understand where we may have gone wrong in any type of situation, which it doesn't really require blaming ourselves, but it does very much so have to do with understanding what we did wrong first. But what neutrally and naturally happens is that we're going to look at the problem in a way that other people affected it, meaning what they did wrong to us. And so depending on the act of that, the response of what another person did wrong to us, that's our choice of wanting to understand or wanting to blame. But when people start blaming, that's when it becomes a disruptive behavior that can get out of line towards the point of more karmatic cycles that will haunt us for forever until we just leave the toxicity behind. Going through a forgiveness act in two different situations, from what I've understood, is difficult. There's two type of behaviors and two type of ways of going through life. One type of way, which myself went through this, was trying to do the best you can, not being perfect, but trying to meet whatever necessities in life at a do whatever I can do to please the situation, whether it's raising a family, bringing money to the family, paying bills, and so forth. Living a normal life, not too many friends, not too many in and out type of things. Like family was very minimal. Didn't have friends in and out the house. I kept it very isolated, I guess you can say. And so, like, for me, my thing was trying to pay all the bills and stuff like that. Trying to raise a family, pretty much. And doing what you can do as a human being, whether it's a good job, a bad job, something minimal, and so forth. Went through 2 marriages, and both marriages totaled out to be about 23 years. And so you figure 23 years of dealing in a relationship, and you really haven't done too much wrong except argued back. It took a while for me to understand the things that I lacked of, even though there was many excuses for them, and they were valid excuses, and they understood to me, like it was understanding to me, but to the other person it wasn't understanding. And so at a certain point in time, it took me to have a realization of what I was doing wrong. So therefore, I had to understand every little thing that I may have done wrong. And when it came to things that I'd done wrong, I had to take responsibility for them, not by telling anybody, but by at least acknowledging them. Each thing that a person acknowledges that they could have done different of, without placement of anybody in the picture at the time, anybody in your life at the time, is very effective. Why is it effective? Because it's like a checklist. You're marking off little things at every moment. So for everything that you're accountable for, it will lead you to why the other person was upset, and what happened, and how it all played out. So in my second marriage, 10 years into the marriage, is where I started understanding everything I did wrong. And why did I understand that? Is because of toxic arguments after toxic arguments throughout the years. And the only times things were ever decent or better is when, we were shopping, going out to eat, and buying stuff. And so I had to understand why that affected the emotions more than other things. And two totally different people. I was quiet, and the other one was kind of more needing the friendship of her girlfriends and stuff like that, which was absolutely okay and understanding. But I started noticing that it was more of a venting out with her, which helped me understanding things that I, did wrong as well. And so when it came time to forgiving, it wasn't so much that I forgave the other person at first, because I started understanding myself. And doing so, I was able to, in a sense, let go of me blaming myself, because it was instilled as a limited belief throughout, a certain amount of period of years being married. And so it allowed me to let off the pressure of blaming myself. And I was able to feel the release, the burden off the shoulders and stuff. And so that was helping me understand the materialistic things of life, of why job was important, why money was important, why raising a family, and so forth. Definitely saw and understood throughout the process of why income, not just paying the bills, but the extra income, made more things happier in a relationship. And so as I was able to relieve the pressure of me blaming myself, because, of course, during arguments, there was always an excuse, I was also able to understand why the other person would get upset and do the things that they did. So when it came time during my awareness, then I understood what the excuse was, like what was the hidden factor behind all that. So as I slowly broke it down to myself, it led me to another thing that I had to understand. And so for me, it went from financial to relationship and so forth. Like, being able to do things and keep yourself occupied and busy, and then knowing that there needed to be quality time in a relationship, things became settling. And so when things became settling, it's like being in that long of a marriage, it was like we did everything. We went out, we partied at the younger stage of the marriage, and then as we got older, it was trying to lead into a suitable marriage, to me at least. And then the other person, it was like, well, not really knowing what they wanted, because what they say they wanted, it led me to not knowing what I wanted. So if I didn't know what I want, but I knew what I was working towards, then that allowed me to have another epiphany, that if I've been working towards a family, working towards a relationship, working towards a better marriage, then I was able to tell myself the truth through my actions. Now, through my emotions, I understood that me not knowing was literally me not knowing, because it wasn't in my daily life. Like, it wasn't in my plans of future as far as how I saw the future. So day by day, it felt like a marriage, but week by week, month by month, and then year by year, I felt still like I was handling the responsibilities, but it still felt just like a relationship, getting by, surviving, right? And so, me understanding that there was no planning of future, and I was trying to, take care of majority of things a little bit by myself. Me being the only one that would worry about the future outcome, whether it was bills or medical or health or whatever, I started understanding that I was by myself on that part. And so me being by myself on that part allowed me to understand why. Okay? And every time I communicated, it would bring an argument back to the past of arguing with a person. So 10 years later, and I would still trying to communicate and try to find some type of, settling, understanding towards a marriage situation. Everything kept on pulling back the conversation to 10 years ago or 8 years ago or whatever, which were just, a lot of excuses that would draw back towards the process of trying to move forward. And so that's when I was able to move from the job, material, and so forth, and then go into the behavior aspect of things. Going into the behavior aspect of things led me to understand, like, my behavior and why, and my me responding to arguments and situations